Okay, I'm excited. I'm Laura Thomas, the Transformative Tech Washington, D.C. Team lead, and I'm excited to introduce Delali. He is going to share with us his blueprint of customer and brand development for our chapters to learn from. And Delali is the CEO and founder of Fearless, a full stack digital services firm in Baltimore, Maryland, with a mission to create software with a soul, tools that empower communities and make a difference. I'm so excited to have you, Delali.
Thanks so much.
Share with us your blueprint.
All right, very cool. Let me share my screen here. And feel free to jump in if people have questions kind of throughout. I'd prefer it not just be me kind of talking to you. So feel free to make this a conversation. I'm going to go through and share a couple of our lessons learned within Fearless that we've been able to build from a brand perspective, right? So people always see us and say, "Oh my God, we love we got a cow on your thing, and I love purple. Are you guys Ravens fans?" And there's so much confusion around our brand. People are like, I kind of like it. I don't know why, but they kind of like the energy. And so I'll talk a little about when they say that, what it is they think that they mean. We talk about brands in particular. We just had a good. Make sure this is on. Oops. All right, there we go. Share a little bit about me in the intro, but long story short, the big takeaway is I like tech, right? And so a lot of your mission really resonates from a tech perspective, and how do you use tech to really transform, right? So talk about people's well-being in general. Just soak that stuff up. So I love what you guys are doing. I'm really excited and gracious that you guys offer me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. But that being said, I'll talk a little bit about Fearless, and then I promise I'll dive into brand, how we think about brand, how we use brand, and some tips that we think are important for people to really walk away with. So first, you heard this in the introduction. We build software with a soul. And our vision really is to create a world where good software powers things that matter. Now, what in the world does that mean? That means I can go outside, hit a button, Uber or Lyft shows up, right? And it takes me to where I want to go. So I can hail a car with the click of a button. I can order something on Amazon, and depending on where you live, you may get it within an hour. There's a locker nearby, they can deliver to your home. But there's so much technology that powers predictive modeling that knows what I need before I need it. And that's able to make sure that works the way it's supposed to work. Now, but when you think about, you talked about, again, transforming tech and the things that really matter, we're talking about, healthcare, education, as we think about so much going on in the social justice kind of conversation, and all of these issues that are so deep and so meaty, it often isn't the same technology that powers that world. And so Fearless, really our perspective is we want to bring all that tech that powers all of the coolness and the goodness that's on your phone and everywhere else, and bring it into this world that often doesn't get the same investment that other places get. So we've been able to use that. Our focus primarily is the public sector. So as taxpayers, we pay into this system, and we really think that government technology ought to work. I shouldn't need an instruction manual to figure out how to get a license, or figure out how to become a citizen, or figure out how to log into some new system to apply for a benefit or Medicare. It should be straightforward and easy. There's no instruction manual for TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all the social media that's out there. And so it should be intuitive, and it should just work. There are a couple top-level .govs that we run that you might be familiar with. First one is SBA.gov. So if you've ever gotten some support from the Small Business Administration or applied for a PPP funding through the lender gateway, if you used our technology, we were able to help them power that from what was on-prem into the cloud, reimagine what that property might look like, and support millions of entrepreneurs across the country start, grow, scale, and finance their businesses. So we're super proud of that. Search.gov, powering almost 2,000 search boxes across the federal government. So it's essentially Google for government. We power that as well. So as you're searching for, where do I need to go to find out how to do this, or how do I apply for so-and-so benefit, you've likely used our technology and didn't realize it. Or perhaps login.gov. If you've ever applied for your frequent traveler number or your global entry, you use login.gov. It is a single sign-on identity provider for the federal government that we also run. And fourth, the last but not least, at least for the .govs, is challenge.gov. which is the innovation portal for the federal government. And we've got lots of other projects, but those are the four that I wanted to just kind of highlight to give you a breadth of some of the work that we're supporting today. But we want to talk a little bit more about just the work that we do, right? We're here to talk about brand. And really the big takeaway, right? And I'll start here is your brand absolutely matters. The brand matters. It's not just your logo. It's not just your colors. Every touch point with your organization matters. And all of that is a part of your brand. I want to spend a couple of minutes talking through what people define brand as today. So really, we see it as a brand is a relationship between a company and its customers. But not only is a relationship between the company and its customers, it is also a relationship between the company and its employees. So the customers, the employees, the relationship that you have with them. And it gets even bigger. Really, if we really take it to the highest level, it is a relationship between the company and everybody else. So that relationship, whoever the touch point is, whoever the person is with your company, that is what the brand is, and that's what they're interfacing with, and that's what they're reacting to within the marketplace. Seth Godin defines it as, and we love Seth Godin and his Purple Cow. We've adopted many of the things and many of his teachings. A brand is a set of expectations, memories, stories, and a relationship that often together takes account for a customer's decision to choose one product or service over another. Brian says it this way: branding is the subtotal of all the experiences your customers have with your business. And I say, or any organization for that matter. Another example. Brand is not a logo. A brand is not an identity. A brand is not a product. A brand is a person's gut feeling. It's an important word, feeling about a product, service, or organization. Your brand isn't what you say it is. It's what they say it is. And I'm going to say that part again. Your brand isn't what you say it is. It's what they say it is. So again, the brand comes from other people's perspective and other people's view and their gut feeling about your organization. So when we think about brand, we see brand and components of brand have lots of different pieces that are involved, from the vision and the mission, which you often hear companies and organizations talk about, your value proposition and your values in general. Perhaps it's your brand promise and what it is that people can expect from you as an organization. Or your positioning, how you guys interact with and deal with your competitors and where you are in that comparison. There's a personality with your brand, a voice of your brand. You may see as you go on social media, you follow people, they talk the same as they're interacting with the folks. If they begin to speak differently, it's jarring. It just doesn't feel like them. It doesn't sound like them. Something feels off. For most people, they assume that the brand is all about your identity. It is your colors and it is your logo. But your brand is so much more. It's all these things in a consistent application of them over time that builds a relationship between everybody else and your organization that gives them a feeling about your organization. So what's our blueprint? And I'm just going to kind of go rapid fire and kind of rattle off some things that we've learned that we apply to brand and how we think about it here within Fearless. And the first one is, before you even get to picking the brand identity and all these other things and the mission and the vision, always start with why. Why is it that you're doing what it is that you do? Why is it that you exist in the first place? Why are you here? And most people say, I want to make money. I want to sell a widget. We think we got a cool product. That's not your why. Dig a little deeper. Simon Sinek says it this way: few organizations know why they do what they do. Why is not about making money. I'm going to say that again. Why is not about making money. That's the result. Why is a purpose, a cause, a belief. It is the very reason your organization exists. You have to start there. If you don't start with why, you're going to have a faulty foundation. You talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The needs, this is like the foundational layer of the needs, right? You start with your why and you build everything else on top of your why. And your brand must begin there from a why. After you figure out why it is that you're doing what it is that you do, you have to be authentic. It's got to be real. So if you just say it because you think it sounds cute, it sounds interesting, it sounds important, kind of catchy, we like this catchphrase, and it's not real, the second things become difficult, the second things become uncomfortable, the second things are a little challenging, or you get another opportunity to do something different, you compromise, and your brand is now worthless. So you have to stay focused, and you have to stay authentic in your brand. And to do that, we often start off and think about this within Fearless about really telling people what it is that we believe, right? Our belief is the fundamental cornerstone of our brand. And so I'm going to talk about a little bit what we believe here at Fearless and how that underpins our brand as a whole. First, we believe that people matter. And so we make technology, we make things work that serves those people across the board. So if we have someone that's trying to get on Medicare and it's difficult for them and they can't figure out how to log in and enroll and get the health benefits they need in order to survive, that is the person that we're thinking about. When an immigrant is trying to figure out how to get their paperwork squared away and become a citizen, that is the person that we're thinking about. The end user, we've got a returning citizen getting out and they need access to resources and they can't figure out how to do that. That is who we think about. And so for us, people absolutely matter. And that is a fundamental belief at Fearless. We believe that starting with what you have will get you what you need. And so what in the world does that mean? That means so many times when we're starting a new venture, starting a new organization, a new initiative, a new program, we get so caught up in like, this is what it's got to be. And we've got roadmap and we've got plans and it's organized and all that stuff is well and good. But so often what happens is we get paralyzed. We get paralyzed and we're not able to move forward. And so starting with what you have, if you just start and iterate and get better and learn and grow, you can evolve over time. And you'll learn and things will keep getting better as you move forward in the process. So second belief is starting with what you have will get you what you need. The third one is people work best when they do what they love. We absolutely believe that. None of us go to work because we hate it and we're sitting there and we're smiling all day because we hate what it is we do, right? We want to do something that doesn't even feel like work. This is what we do here at Fearless. We get paid to do it, but we would do it for free. And there's plenty of examples I'll talk about and how we do that because it's what we're passionate about. We are passionate about digital transformation. We're passionate about creating this world where good software powers all the things that matter. And it's absolutely important and essential to who we are. People work best when they do what it is that they love. We also believe that doing good is worth the effort. Now it doesn't mean that doing good is always easy. And in fact, it's often the opposite, that doing the right thing is often hard, but we do it anyway. Doing the good thing is often challenging and met with a lot of resistance, but it is absolutely worth the effort and worth the investment and worth what we put inside of it to make sure that we get to the outcome that we want. So doing good is worth the effort. Another one of our beliefs. We also believe that tomorrow should always be better than today. And so whatever the challenge is for today, we know that we've got hope that something can and should be better tomorrow. And it's not just delusion, right? It's not just inaction. It is we will act on it, act on this belief, and act on that hope to be able to push things forward. We will create the world in which we want to see. And so those are the beliefs that really underpin why it is that we do what we do, who we are as an organization, and that is what we begin to build our brand on, and that relationship that we begin to instill with everyone else as they interact with our organization. Our second takeaway from our blueprint is that value your people. The brand, if there's just two people within an organization that are fulfilling and living up to your brand promise, it probably isn't a brand promise. And so everyone needs to be a part of that equation. Everyone needs to be a part of that conversation. And it moves to a position where we're treating people as people and everyone has a unique contribution to the organization. At Fearless, we like to say, people are not the same as resources. And so often, especially in the project management world, we're talking about Gantt charts and resources, and let's move a resource from here to here. But that often dehumanizes a human and a person on the other end of it. So people are people. Resources are things. They are not people. And so for us, how that often plays out is we have what we call passion coaches. And those passion coaches work with individuals and they work within their herd, which is a grouping of a specialty, to ensure that people have guidance in their careers. They help them to ensure that the vision is implemented, and they act as resources to the project team to ensure that people have what it is they need. So it ensures that our brand promise permeates throughout the entire organization. So value people. They are part of your brand and they have to be a part of your story. Part of your brand ought to be being a true partner to your customers. That means showing up. You got to be honest with them. You got to be trustworthy, and you've got to build that relationship over time. One way in which we've done that is our partnership with the United States Air Force. We were asked to partner with Air Force along with an organization called BES. That is the Business Enterprise Systems. It's a PEO that manages all of the business applications for Air Force. And they wanted to figure out how to be a little bit more innovative and how they can better modernize all of their systems and how they can rethink how they do mobile development within the Air Force as a whole. So we came online and we started supporting them. But what was interesting about this project, it wasn't just about building software and capability. They wanted us to partner with the city of Montgomery to figure out how we can help to transform Montgomery as we're supporting building a tech ecosystem in Baltimore as well. And so for us, part of the brand is showing up and being a true partner outside of just, hey, we're getting paid to deliver tech. We want to be a partner to grow the tech ecosystem that supports not just us, but them long term. So showing up as a partner is part of our blueprint as well. Whatever it is that you do as a part of your brand, be sure that in every interaction, you make a concerted effort to add value to the conversation. Don't just show up. Don't just be a consumer. Add value to every conversation. That'll be reflective of your brand, and that trust will grow over time. One of the ways in which we do this is we were one of the co-founders of an organization called the Digital Services Coalition. Now, the DSC, as we call it, is a band of small businesses just like us across the country. And everyone in that group is passionate about transforming government to work better for people. So I talked about a couple of .govs that we own and manage and run within Fearless. Within this group, we also own or manage or part of the recovery for healthcare.gov, farmers.gov, va.gov, vets.gov, leading transformation across the state of California, the state of Connecticut, doing some in Colorado, some across the state of Texas. And those are just things I can rattle off on the top of my head, and many, many more. So they're working on amazing projects across the federal sphere. And for us, that's adding to the conversation. No one asked us to stand up this organization. We saw a void and we saw a need within the environment to build more organizations that looked like this, that were excited about what we're excited about. And so we wanted to add value to the conversation. Again, a reflection of our brand within the industry. Another thing we see as a blueprint in how we built our brand is ensure that we're building community. And it's not because we're getting paid to do it, it's because we value it. Again, we talked about people matter, right? We talked about tomorrow being better than today and seeing this world that we want to create and being a part of that. We're doing that here locally within Baltimore and starting to grow that ecosystem in Montgomery, Alabama as well. And I'll talk about a few ways in which we've done that. Number one is we invest to bring new leaders into the industry. We've been asked for 3 years in a row now to support Baltimore City Public Schools in curating a technology showcase for the citywide back to school night. So as all the students and the parents are getting involved and getting plugged into school, we help to bring all the tech vendors in the community to the table to talk about what's going on technology, how to get them plugged in, how to get them incorporated. That's one of the ways in which we've been giving back. We support many local meetups and many nonprofits within our community. And I'll talk about other ways in which we're powering the tech ecosystem here as well. But a couple examples of how we're supporting our local ecosystem here within Baltimore. We also find technologists and support to stitch them together within the ecosystem. So some of it is we throw conferences. So DevOps Days, international conference we brought to Baltimore, really bringing the DevOps culture and technology and cloud-based infrastructure conversations to the city. So curated and ran that conference for a number of years. It's still going today. Again, a contribution to the environment. We also run the Baltimore City GitHub. We stood up the Baltimore City Tech Slack and are working to stitch together lots of pieces within the ecosystem to ensure that technology is working collaboratively across the city. We like tackling challenges, some of the toughest challenges within the city. We launched a nonprofit and are running an organization called Hack Baltimore. And Hack Baltimore, the name's a little misleading. It's not about creating a new hackathon, right? Hackathons are great and they're awesome and they absolutely have their place. And I'll talk about some of the goodness that comes out of hackathons, and I'll talk about some of the things that I wish were a little bit better. So hackathons do a really great job of assembling people, typically over the course of a weekend. So it may be Friday through Sunday, and everyone's excited, and they're building new things, and they're sleeping in the facility, whatever it is, right? Eating pizza, drinking soda all weekend, and they build some really cool stuff. That part is awesome about hackathons, bringing people together. What I don't love about hackathons is traditionally, 9 out of 10 times, most of those projects will die on Monday morning. People go back to school, people go back to work. And so we wanted to rethink what that meant and what that looked like and really look at hackathons and really look through technology for the community through the lens of sustainability and how can we ensure that when we're building things, getting everyone excited, that we're actually thinking about how to make sure they stay fixed if we're going to fix them over the course of that weekend. And so that's evolved into an organization that says, for us to think about sustainability, it means we've got to get further up the stack, meaning that we've got to really understand what we're designing up front. So we've got to do the discovery, some design up front, figure out what needs to be built, build it, and make sure there's enough sustainability for it before we even start. And so we're so excited about what's happening within Hack Baltimore and how we're transforming the city across issues such as transportation, public safety, health and wellness, workforce development, et cetera. Another recent initiative of ours in how we support and grow our local community is we launched Hutch, which is our digital services studio. It's an incubator where we're growing technology companies and digital services companies. We have 13 companies today that we're growing, and our goal is to do 25 of them before 2025. Why are we doing this, you might ask? Again, our vision, we want to create a world where good software powers things that matter. We cannot do this on our own. We don't want to do it on our own. And for us to achieve that vision that we see, again, our why, part of our brand, it is directly aligned for us to help to grow other companies in this space. So we're super excited about that and super excited. In fact, we're doing intake now for our next cohort. It's for the 2-year program that will start this January. Something else in our blueprint that I think is really important for people as they start to develop their brand and become thought leaders in a particular space is give away your best stuff. Yes, give it away for free. You don't need to sell it. Give it away and good things will happen. I'll give a small use case. We do most of our business in the federal contracting space. And in that world, the federal government has various goals that they establish for agencies along with SBA. And they may say, X% of business we want to do with women-owned businesses, and X%, Y% we want to do with veteran-owned businesses. We want to do business with 8A companies. And they've got one that many people don't know much about, which is called Hub Zone. And a Hub Zone business, it stands for Historically Underutilized Business Zone, and is actually not about the background of the founder of the company or the entrepreneur. It's actually based on the geography. And so they look at various census tracts, and it could be a tract that has historically low income. It could be a tract that has historically high unemployment. And what they say is if you base your organization within a hub zone, and if you hire a percentage of your employees from that federal hub zone, you can be qualified for specialized access to contracting opportunities within the federal government. So that was really in line with our spirit and really in line with our mission and our vision, our values as an organization. So we got certified. We found out that the federal government is woefully short of making their goals from year to year. In fact, as we looked at the numbers, about $8 to $9 billion of spend was being left on the table because they weren't meeting goals. And so what we did was we said, okay, let's fix it. Something's wrong. 2 major issues that we saw. One was bad policy. 2 was the technology was poor. And so they didn't have a good way. The map was reporting bad data. It didn't give people a strong assurance as to how long a location may stay qualified. That gave business owners the ability to make a decision if they wanted to be in a particular area or not. So we took all the data, we scraped all the data from SBA's website, and we built our own map. We ended up building our own tool called Hub Finder, and that turned into something that we use internally and allowed other firms to use that across the country. So much so that it became a national beta. And one day, SBA came calling and said, that's pretty awesome, but we want you to stop. In fact, we want the whole thing. And that turned into a contract for us to modernize all of SBA's Hub Zone technology nationwide. And so again, great example of just building and giving away your best stuff. And good things tend to happen as you become market leaders in various spaces. Another way in which we give away our best stuff is really through thought leadership. Raymond says this really well. It says small businesses must become publishers. So how do we give away our content in general? And how we do this at Fearless is we created what we call cookbooks and playbooks. So our playbooks you'll find on our website, and they range from different topics from testing to agile development to how to give feedback to how to have card conversations. We had a really good playbook that we created around some of the racial justice conversations and how we did that internally. And this is what we've learned. And we want to share that with the community. And so they're free for anyone to go grab and give feedback. And we're continuously improving those and supporting people as they grow and creating new playbooks all the time. Another way in which we give away our best stuff, we're talking about brand today. In fact, we've given resources away for all of our brand. All of our brand guidelines can be found on the website fearless.design. We can find exactly how we think about our logo and our voice and our tone and our brand guidelines. All of that is available for anyone to kind of see and to learn from. Freely available through that website there, fearless.design. And so I thought that was fitting today to make sure that we can share that with you guys as a resource and a good takeaway. And if you know nothing else, if you haven't learned this today, we really care deeply about Baltimore. That also is a big part of our story and a big part of our brand. I will cut it off there, and I'm happy to take some questions now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Delali. That was great. I mean, you shared so much good nuggets. Your blueprint had a lot of good information that I feel like is going to be helpful. I want to just have a little candid conversation with you. And then we'll open it up. But basically, like I said before, you addressed so many excellent points. And I have to say that Fearless was your name, your company name struck me when I learned about you a few months ago and was planning our Entrepreneurship Essentials series for transformative tech. You know, making sure that we're getting all the main components of how we're going to expand and create awareness around what we're doing as individual entrepreneurs, innovators, and funders around transformative tech. And I was looking for people to speak, and I saw Fearless Digital Services Company, and I was like, that has to be a transformative tech company. And I was, you know, learning more about you. And then I spoke with you because I wanted to talk to you about the brand component, even though you're not necessarily a transformative tech firm, but your brand is focusing on supporting people and really shifting the mind. And Fearless, that brand alone, that name alone is a powerful statement. And what we're trying to do is shift mindsets, you know, transform people's way of thinking and really supporting them to thrive and flourish and take care of their mental health. So I wanted to first just ask you to delve a little bit on how you got your name. So could you share that with me?
Yeah, so great question. There's really two main things that led to the name. And first is when we got our start, we were primarily in kind of the national security and DoD space. And oftentimes in that world, you see what we call acronym soup, right? ABC Incorporated, DEF Limited, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you know, nothing really stood out. They all kind of sounded the same. They all kind of felt the same. And so really wanted a name that would stand out and be like super audacious and make people kind of pause and to look at them like, who are these guys, right? So that being first. And the second being, I felt like I had been prepped just about my whole life to like start a business, right? Something I did as a kid and little startups, and I tried it forever. But there's something about quitting your job, right? And taking that plunge, like, and okay, this is it. We're against the wall. I got to make it happen, and got a family to take care of and all those things. And so I tell people all the time, it was like, walk to the edge of the diving board, you know, then on the high dive and look down. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And so really wanted to pick a name that was personal to me, to not be afraid to take the chance, to not be afraid to live on the cutting edge and to be a little bit different and to stand out. And so Fearless is that daily reminder for us as an organization to really not settle for the status quo.
Yeah, that's amazing. And as you were also sharing with us, like your beliefs, your core values, that really resonates with not only myself, but I believe the Transformative Tech organization. It's so fitting. And and so I just wanted to share that. But the other question I had about your background is that when I was like trying to find out more about Fearless and yourself, I actually came across your brother, who's a neuroscientist. and I believe that if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure they're and so I thought that was also, I feel like, you know, like I said, your name resonates with me. Your brother is doing awesome work, it seems. And I was just curious, you know, if there's a story behind, like, because your family seems to understand the power of the mind. And I just was curious, just in terms of your background, if you could just share, like, because I feel like that there's some kind of connection with you being a neuroscientist, with your brother being a neuroscientist and you having a company that's servicing to support people and really promoting self-actualization in my mind, and fear and self-transcendence by being fearless. So is there anything there, or am I just
and it's interesting. It's not something that I think I thought about till I got a little bit older. And I'll put the disclaimer out there. He's the brainiac of the family, so I'm by far the underachiever of the bunch. But so growing up, so my dad is a software engineer, and all of us at different parts of our lives, we had to program as kids, and so we all learned how to program as kids. So we always kind of had an engineering leaning. My mom, on the other hand, is a nurse. And so we spent many hours in hospitals and nursing homes, and she really was the one that was always pushing us to get back and building empathy and supporting people and making sure that we were taking care of people that were less fortunate than we were. And so I think somehow that's mixed up in a bunch of different ways in all of us, all of my two siblings. So from our perspective, we build technology that helps people, right? And so there's that direct connection. And in this world, he's coming more from the people side. He's supporting people, but identifying build technology that supports those people as well. And so much of what they're doing, and I may get this completely wrong, but as you think about how traditionally you've got a pacemaker that may support the heart, right? And the heart ensures that the heart is able to regulate itself and to beat as it needs to be. They're thinking about the brain a little bit differently within this lab, and looking at the brain as more of a set of circuits. And so could you, in circuits where they're all running at the same time, and is there a way where we have a particular feeling, right? When there's an impulse, right? Signal clicks, right? And you get a feeling or some action happens, right? And they're finding a way, like, can you, and so as they're thinking about mental disorder and mental issues in general, there's often a disconnect in that circuit, right? And there's two things that just aren't connecting within the brain. And so what they're creating and doing research on is, like, could they develop a pacemaker for the brain that in the same way that you connect the faulty circuit and connect. So they're doing some pretty amazing things. I probably won't be able to do this justice, but I think it's definitely a factor of our upbringing, really this leaning towards both technology and empathy for people, and how do you connect that dot?
That's awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that I recognized that, and I thought it was really cool. I was like, I want to ask you both to come back and talk with us, because I think, like, you guys fit within our community, and it would be great. We could learn a lot from you all. But also, like, the cow, just going into, like, the brand. I know you displayed with us your brand strategy and your logo, how you came up with that. If you don't mind just sharing what the cow means, in case anyone hasn't looked at it yet.
Absolutely. So the cow is the purple cow. It's actually derived from a book by Seth Godin called The Purple Cow. And he starts the story off in the book talking about, me and my wife and my kids we're going on vacation, and we see a brown cow. Brown cow looks like every other brown cow. The kids get half excited, say, "Oh, look, there's a cow over there," right? Before you know it, you pass that brown cow, you keep driving. Half a mile later, you see a second brown cow. That second brown cow looks a heck of a lot like the first guy, right? Nothing super exciting about the second brown cow that you see, but they kind of look up and keep driving. Before you know it, you're passing cow after cow after cow after cow. They all look the same. They all sound the same. They're all doing the same things, and they're almost invisible at that point. And so, wouldn't it be something if you were driving, you saw a purple cow. Now, that purple cow, it's a little bit different, right? It would compel you to stop. You pull over, you take pictures. I mean, we throw it all over social media at this point. But that purple cow compels you to think about things differently. And he talks about how businesses, we're all kind of brown cows. And everyone sees us. We're selling the same stuff. We got the same story. We're really good at spamming people and blowing up their inbox. And would it be something if we transformed ourselves by being remarkable, right? Something that you're so remarkable at what you do that you compel people to stop and to take notice. And so we absolutely fall in love with the story. And that's where the purple cow was derived from.
Oh. Great. We have several questions in the chat. So let me, if anyone else wants to start putting in their questions, feel free. But the first one that's coming up is, what are the first steps for a startup to build a brand and stand out from the rest, especially when they have a limited budget?
Yep. That's a great question. I think it goes back to the very first point. You have to start with why. Like, why are you doing this, right? And it's got to be real, right? Now, you can find strategies to navigate, what's the market, what's my niche, and how do I do all those types of things. But you gotta start with why. That is the very first part. I think the second thing is really thinking about like lean startup methodologies where, go find a real problem, right? A real customer that has a thing and like iterate, right? You've got to do a little by little. Don't assume you have the solution. You need to be talking to a lot of people. And I know a lot of people often get nervous about, I don't want to share my idea, someone's going to steal my idea, but you won't be able to get that refinement loop as far as that feedback loop for people letting you know that, hey, I'm on the right track. Am I not? Do you really care? Would you actually buy this? How much would you buy it for? So that stuff is really important. So start with your why. And then, as you start with your value proposition, start to talk to people and refine it.
Great. And then the other question that came up is, can you share tactics, tools, and resources that can help a startup or an entrepreneur go from the brown cow to blue cow or purple cow?
We're a fan of purple cows. We like the other cows too, but they're also interesting and pretty cool. I think another big piece of it, in addition to starting with your why, is, and it's in there too, like you have to be authentic, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, like if you are trying to come up with some super creative strategy of how you're going to do X, Y, Z, someone else might think about that. The only thing that you have that no one else has is you. So sell that. You got to bake that into the company. Like bring yourself and bring your personality and bring what drives you and bring that voice to the conversation. So many times we get afraid of doing that and putting ourselves kind of out there. And, well, I'm not sure if I should be saying this, or I'm not sure if I should do this, or this doesn't appear the way like business is typically run. But that's like the key element, because that's unique, right? You are the purple cow, right? Bring yourself to the table, and it's easier said than done. I think starting off, like, we also like have had an evolution over time, right? And even from like our clothes and all that other stuff. But the more you become yourself and you start acting that way, you'll find out that, one, it's easy to do. You don't have to act, right? You just show up and you don't have to think about being who it is that you are. But also, once you start putting out there who you are, that energy, your tribe starts to find you, right? And so there are people that are looking for you. And the issue is they're finding your representative, right? And you don't want to be that person anyway. And so the wrong people are finding the representative and the right people are not finding you. So put yourself out there and be yourself.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And like when you're developing your brand, I mean, and I think this is a question that you pretty much addressed, because you're saying that earlier you were talking about how your brand is what other people's perspectives, that it's the gut feeling of your customer. That's what's cultivating your brand. And so I had sketched some questions earlier, but I was kind of wanting to think about like the length of time. Like, so how long would it take, or how long do you estimate or think that it's going to take for people to connect? I mean, to get that gut feeling, which is going to cultivate your brand. Like, how long would that take? I mean, I guess it just depends on how strong your core values are, or how would that work?
It's time. So we talked about brand being a relationship. So, and I'll kind of use an analogy from the dating perspective, right? If you go on and talk to someone once a year and you're trying to get to know them, it might take you a really long time to get to know them. Now, if you talk to them all day, all night, 24/7, 365, you will get to know that person pretty quickly. And it's the same thing with the people that interact with your brand. The more touch points they have with you, the better they get to know you. And if those touch points are consistent, then that's how you develop that relationship and develop that tribe over a long period of time. So it's a matter of the touch points, number of touch points, and how frequent they are into how they will get to know you as a brand.
Great. Do we have any other questions? We have about 10 minutes. I have a few more. If anyone wants to jump in or unmute themselves, feel free. And I can also continue to ask some more questions. Just want to give everyone a chance. So let me look at here. I know you addressed a lot of my list of questions in your presentation. It was so thorough and great. But I kind of was just, in thinking about brand and customer development, and your product, and which you touched on. But I kind of was trying to think about how do we, what comes first in your opinion? Is it our brand that comes first, the product, or the customer? I mean, when we're trying to grow our business and develop, we spend a lot of time focusing on the product. But, I wanted just to make sure as entrepreneurs that we're focusing on our brand, which is why we're doing this Entrepreneurship Essentials. We're focusing on product, on the development and all the elements that are critical. So I was just curious, like chicken versus the egg type of a question. Like what comes first? Like, is it the brand? Is it the product?
Yeah. They all happen at the same time, in my opinion, right? So if you go back to, let me pull back up the one slide, 1 second. So the brand is a lot of things, right? Again, the brand just isn't your logo. It's mission, vision, values, promise, positioning, personality, voice, identity, and all of those things have to like rely and work in concert. Part of your positioning is thinking through like what your product is and how it works with competitors, but all of this stuff needs to run in concert. And now it isn't something that you're going to get perfect day one, but you start with this and you iterate. As you learn and as you're talking to more people, you may come and tweak things as you go. And all of these things have to be fluid. So anytime there's a shift in one, you got to figure out how it interacts and relates to the other parts of the brand as a whole. But it's all of these elements at once and not just the product. The product is a part of it, which is part of the positioning and your value proposition in general. But it is part of the whole thing.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, Delali. I think you gave such a thorough branding conversation. I think you've addressed pretty much all of my questions. I don't see anyone asking any other questions. I'm not sure if anyone else has anything. If not, we will go ahead and end here. But I'll just ask one more time just to make sure I'm not rushing folks. But if anyone has any other questions, you can add them into the chat. But if not, this was awesome. You covered where this is going to be great for us to go back and look at later. We'll be uploading it onto our YouTube page. And we thank you so much for joining us today. This was like, I can't say it enough how wonderful it was. I'm excited. I learned a lot myself, and I think everyone on the call did as well. And hopefully we'll have you back again.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. In fact, we do a lot of this teaching within our startup studio, Hutch. In fact, I'll put a little a PSA out there now, but our Hutch application is actually open now for our next cohort. So people are thinking about starting a new enterprise and need some assistance to getting going and are really interested in helping to transform the public sector. If you go to fearless.tech/Hutch, you'll find all the information again. That's fearless.tech/Hutch. Our new site, hutchstudio.io, I think is coming out, I think tomorrow or the day after. So it may actually be a draft version of that. But check it out if you're interested in thinking about starting a new venture. We have 2 years of curriculum that we walk people how to get started.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Delali.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.